This week on Maker Update, an LED synthesizer, desktop time travel, a new perspective on a ball balancing platform, and Le Spatula 3000. Hey, I'm Donald Bell, and this is Maker Update, our weekly showcase of new and notable DIY projects and tips from across the internet. I hope you're doing well. We've got another fun show for you. Let's get started with the project of the week. This is the Patternflow project by Engmung. This is an open source LED synthesizer based on an art piece from the 1960s by Namjoon Paik called Participation TV. It was essentially a TV where you could control the image and colors drawn on the screen. For this updated take, we have a color LED matrix that can be controlled with a panel of 4 knobs. As a way to invite experimentation, the knobs aren't labeled. You're encouraged to just spin them around until you find a result that you like. You can save patterns, but you also have the ability to browse and load patterns you've stored before or patterns shared by others. You can also create and export patterns using an online simulation. If you head over to patternflow.work, not only can you start playing with a virtual version of this project right away, you can step your way through the interactive build guide, inspect the code, flash the firmware, and connect with a growing online community of people making their own displays and sharing their own animations. In terms of the hardware, there's a well-documented version 1.0 based on the ESP32S3 board, a Hub 75 RGB LED matrix, 4 rotary encoders, a power bank, and a 3D printed enclosure. One aspect of this project that I found super interesting, and it's the first time I've seen this, is that not only can you copy the code, but you can copy AI prompt guidelines for creating new patterns. These guidelines help to set up guardrails on what not to modify in the code, as well as what areas are the most open to reinterpretation. Even if you don't end up making this project or using these prompts, seeing how they're structured, how the guardrails are communicated, how the concepts and intentions behind the project and controls are laid out in fine detail, I think it's fascinating all on its own, and I can imagine seeing more prompt guides like this included in project documentation. You can find a link to the project and everything else in this video down in the description. More projects, check out Astrolabe by chu-bert. This is a project where you can visualize the position of planets in our solar system on any given date. The LCD screen on the right shows the date and time connected to the planetary map on the left. A knob beneath the screen can be used to set a date and time, which updates the map on the main screen. But of course, the coolest way to use this thing is to spin the gear positioned over the screen and scrub your way back and forth like some kind of intergalactic time pirate. How cool is that? I was also blown away by this MirrorBallBot project by AndreaFavero. For this ball balancing platform, he solves 2 main problems for projects like this. The first is where to place the camera. If you place the camera above the platform, it becomes this tall, somewhat awkward thing, and you lose some of the illusion. Mounted from the bottom looking up is a tidier design, but you have to keep the plate somewhat small because you can't move the camera back very much. But in this design, by using a mirror to reflect the image of the plate to a camera positioned at an angle, you can essentially fold the field of view. The other problem he solves is integrating the operation. Instead of having a connected laptop to handle the positional math and the interaction, he has a Raspberry Pi and a connected touchscreen acting as the interface. Not only is it a much cleaner look, but he's added some great features like the ability to draw a path on the screen for the ball to follow, as well as record and playback movements. Very well done. But by now you're probably saying, show me a practical project that I can really use. And for that, we turn to Kiara's workshop and her latest attempt at making the Le Spatula 3000 from Spongebob SquarePants. It lights up, it talks, it turns, it might even help you cook a Krabby Patty. More than anything though, it's a great story of how a second run at a project can give you a chance to totally rethink your approach. In this case, it became an opportunity to see how PCB design could eliminate an ugly nest of wires that had to be crammed into the first version. We've all been there. In fact, the wiring on most of my projects still usually looks like this, but it doesn't have to, and this is a great demonstration of how projects and techniques can evolve. Speaking of evolving techniques, there's a great video and companion instructable from seanhodgins on how he made this wearable GPS time pulse module for fellow YouTuber Jeff Geerling. It's a unique project, but what really kept me watching here were the tools and techniques Sean demonstrated for putting the project together. There's a vacuum pickup tool for small surface mount components. There's this solder mask screen printing rig. And a great tip for when you create and export your bill of materials in KiCad software. Two tips actually. One is that KiCad can generate an HTML file you can use to visually check where your components go. The other is that the custom reference labels you include in your KiCad BOM can be added to the bags DigiKey uses to pack and organize your components. That way, when you're looking for R1 or C2, you can just look at the label on the bag instead of diving into a table of component values. For a handy tool you can 3D print, I found this great, elegant wire bending tool by Phil Renato on Instagram. He has two designs up on Thingiverse, but this most recent version looks easier to make and has these useful markings for registering and repeating your bends. On YouTube, Zack Freedman has a fascinating and inspiring presentation on how his 3D printed Gridfinity organization system became so insanely popular and how others can theoretically replicate what he did. The catch here is that you'll need more than a great idea. You'll also need to give it away for free and make peace with the fact that most people won't even know you invented it. Even if you don't have Gridfinity level aspirations for your project, the presentation offers some practical advice on how to effectively share your creations online and some common mistakes most people make. And because it's Zack, it's also just a super entertaining presentation. For this week's DigiKey Spotlight, it's time to get familiar with KiCad. Do you want to design your own custom boards like Kiara to make your projects easier to assemble? Do you want to get all your components delivered in custom labeled DigiKey baggies like seanhodgins? Well, you'll need to get a handle on KiCad. Lucky for you, DigiKey has a 7-part video series that covers all the basics you need to get started. You can find a link to the full playlist down in the description. And that does it for this week's show. Be sure to subscribe, leave a thumbs up, or leave a comment. A big thanks to DigiKey for making this show possible, and thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.